I've always loved the story in John chapter 21. It's an encounter between Jesus and his disciples, and especially Peter. It's just after the crucifixion, and Jesus is gone, and they don't know what to do, how to move forward. So this is a story about trying to find direction when they aren't sure which way to go. It begins with Peter saying, "I'm going fishing." Seems innocent enough, but I suggest these are words of deep hesitation, which we all encounter whenever we discern. Remember, Jesus first met Peter on his boat and said, "Follow me, and it can be even better. I will use your gifts to catch people." And over the next 3 years, Peter enters into a deep friendship with Christ. Then suddenly, Jesus dies. Peter's not sure how to follow anymore. What do we do when we face uncertainty? Peter says, "I'm going fishing." That's to say, I'm choosing the life I already know. I had that life down. It's safe. Get the nets. What we have to discern is whether, for Peter, it's a step of vocation or a step of hesitation. When I was in college, I was focused on law school. It was known, it felt safe, it's what my dad did, what I grew up around. But when I went to law school, I lost all my joy, all my vitality. So I began to go to the campus chapel. I asked God to help me get it together, to give me the strength I needed to start studying, so I could live the life I had mapped out for myself. But God seemed silent, and that intensified my sadness, until finally, I went to the dean of the law school and just quit. There's this beautiful moment where Jesus asked Peter, "Are you catching anything?" It's not about making Peter feel guilty about a life he's not pursuing, or that Jesus' love is conditional, "I'll only love you if you do X." It's a question about joy and fruitfulness. Is your life as full and meaningful as it could be? Sometimes this question crystallizes into a religious vocation, as it did for me. God kept the question before me. Are you catching anything? And after a great deal of hesitation, I spit out Peter's answer, "Not really." And here's where the gospel story gets weird, or we'll say mysterious. When Peter finally admits he's not catching any fish with his own plan, he catches 153 big, fat, slimy fish and experiences joy. The joy of following where Jesus leads, of discovering our vocation. When I quit law school, I was completely depressed. Then my high school asked me to fill in for a teacher, and I said, "What subject?" "Computers." I knew nothing about computers. But by the end of the month, the mystery of vocation, they couldn't get me out of the school. I taught, I coached, I led service trips and spoke at retreats. The principal figured out I had no idea how to teach computers, and I moved into the theology department. I was full of a joy that I didn't plan. I didn't pursue it. It pursued me. And if I had stubbornly held on to my own vision for my life, I would have missed it. If Peter had just kept casting his net over the same side of the boat and ignored the whisper of Jesus in his heart, he would have missed it. Discernment requires trust to follow the promptings of Jesus. Why carry the burden of living life solely on your own terms, trying to predict where your decisions will lead? We're almost always wrong anyway. When Christ says, "Trust in me, listen to me in your heart, pull your net up, and cast where I lead you." And here's the best part. The end of a vocation isn't even the joy. When Peter realizes his life has been made so joyful, beyond what his own efforts could have produced, he screams out, "It's the Lord," and plunges into the water to get closer to Jesus. A vocation begins with an invitation, usually somewhat unexpected. It continues into experiencing deep joy and ends with falling ever more deeply in love with God. What happens to Peter happens to each one of us. We come to crossroads. These moments have led me to the deepest joy of my life, to become a religious and a priest in the Holy Cross community. This is how my story unfolded, but you have your own story. What might be the joy in store for you as you follow the deepest desire of your heart, the voice of Christ?